Why would the Ghana's government decide to give a YouTuber a diplomatic passport? He isn't a government official. He is a private person, like private individual, also a citizen that only does YouTube videos. But after my research, today.
All right. Welcome to This Week in Ghana, the weekly live stream where we talk about all things Ghana in the news. This week we're talking about Wode Maya and a few others getting a diplomatic passport, poisonous water in Cape Coast, and of course Kwame Nkrumah's Memorial Day. Before we get into it, we start with introductions. So I'll turn it over to our co-host to do her introduction before I introduce myself.
Good evening. It's great to be with you here once again, telling the news all about Ghana. For those of you watching on the Authentic African platforms, my name is Ivy Prosper. I am a producer, a YouTube creator, a speaker, and I offer consultations on people who are looking to move to Ghana. I wrote a book called Your Essential Guide on Moving to Ghana. That book is available on Amazon. And you can catch me on my YouTube channel, which is Ivy Prosper. That's where you can catch me. Also on Instagram is Ivy Prosper, LinkedIn, Ivy Prosper, everywhere.
There it is. And that'll be in the description below, of course, for those of you who are watching on my platforms and those who are watching on Ivy's. I am Joe Hatagwa, not Authentic African. That's just the name of the platform. Some people call me that in public. So my name is Joe Hatagwa. I am the founder of Authentic African Media. And our goal is to get people to do one of three things: visit, or two of the three things: visit, move, and or invest on the continent of Africa. And we're trying to bridge the gap between those living on the continent and those living in the diaspora. There's also an e-commerce store where there are products made, ethically sourced on the continent of Africa and sold to those in the diaspora if you are interested. And so we, on a bi-weekly basis now, starting 2 weeks ago, are doing the news on Ghana, what's happening within the week or the previous 2 weeks since our last discussion. I'm actually currently in Ghana. This is my second week here.
Welcome to Ghana.
Thank you. It's been good. It's good to be back. I feel like I'm back home. Everybody says to me, welcome back home, because this was home for me for a little over 2 years. So it's always good to be back and to see everybody. We haven't got a chance to catch up yet, Ivy, but we will before I go.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So to get into the first of many stories we are going to talk about today, we are talking about the fact that 5 distinguished Ghanaians, among them YouTuber, content creator, media personality Wode Maya, was given a diplomatic passport by the state to champion African unity and integration. And let me just talk through like who all those people were. So obviously Wode Maya was one of them. Also Samuel Ablakwa presented the actual diplomatic passport. So it was Wode Maya, reggae star Rocky Dawuni,
Rocky Dawuni.
Yes. Okay, there we go. Anita
Erskine.
So
that, yeah, Anita Erskine.
Okay. And Ibrahim Mahama.
Yes.
And then entrepreneur Dentaa, who I was actually on her platform before. I know she's interviewed you before. You know, and I think it's important that we talk about this today. But let's watch this video and then we'll give some commentary on the other side. There's lots of opinions, but we'll give ours and we'll give you some commentary on the other side. So here we go.
In all humility, with the powers conferred on me under NLCD 155, which is the Passport and Travel Certificates Decree of 1967, these 5 very special Africans are going to receive diplomatic passports from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ghana to carry out their mobilization and to continue with the good works that they have already been doing to mobilize people of African descent across the world. And I'll provide the list as follows. Number 1 on the list is the interesting young man, Wode Maya. Wode Maya, number 1 on the list. He has done so much to promote African tourism and to really bring the African people together. And we think that he should be honored with a diplomatic passport to further enhance his work. The second person on our list is Lady Dentaa Amoateng. Number 3 on our list is no other person than the iconic Rocky.
Hey. So that video cuts off there, but you guys got the idea. So Ivy, your thoughts on the diplomatic passports to these 5 individuals?
I think it's great that the government is recognizing people who are doing work that is making an impact and promoting Ghana to the world and in need of those passports in order to move around to do the work that they're doing. Wode Maya getting one did not surprise me, although the video clip you showed in the beginning, I hadn't actually seen that clip before, where that man is criticizing. So he's basically saying that he didn't think Wode Maya should get one because he's a YouTube creator. A lot of times there are people who don't respect, especially I'm talking about in the Ghana context right now. A lot of times there are people who don't respect the work that people who are on YouTube do and don't understand the amount of work that goes into it and some of the challenges that are faced, that it is real work. It's not just being a YouTuber, as the guy was saying in his comment. Being a YouTube creator, especially at the level that Wode Maya does it, is a high level. It's you're an entrepreneur. I call him a YouTube entrepreneur. People who are doing YouTube as a job, they're entrepreneurs. And he moves around. He's been to more than 20 African countries. He has talked about having difficulties traveling from country to country, getting visa denials. And the irony is, just 2 hours before, the Minister of Foreign Affairs announced that he was getting the diplomatic passport. Wode Maya tweeted that Australia had denied his visa application. And literally within 2 hours, he got this announcement of him getting this passport. So I think that it's warranted. Dentaa does a lot of moving around. They did say that the passport was for the purpose of them being able to move around freely, doing the work that they're doing. Dentaa has a British passport as well. So I think that having the British passport is helpful in moving around easier than Wode Maya, who's moving only with a Ghana passport. Rocky Dawuni, I believe he's a UN ambassador. So he does a lot of work outside of his music about, environment, peace work. So he does a lot of movements around as well. So I can see why he's a multiple Grammy nominated artist for the work that he does in his music. He has a lot of activism in what he does. So I can see that as well. And Ibrahim Mahama, the artist, he moves around a lot with the artwork that he does. So I can see why they obviously had their reasons, but he moves around with the art that he does, although I think he's primarily in Tamale in northern Ghana. And who was the other one now? My mind is going blank. Anita Erskine. Anita Erskine also travels around a lot with the work that she does. She does a lot of
Ivy,
MC.
You're breaking up a little bit, Ivy. I think we're losing you a bit.
You're losing me.
Yes, unfortunately.
Look at that.
You guys know how this goes sometimes here in West Africa, specifically in Ghana.
Am I back?
You are back, actually. You're back.
Okay, good. Okay. All right. My apologies to everyone. My internet is having issues. I actually just signed up for another provider so that I can have an option of 2 different providers while I do this. So I was saying, and Anita Erskine also does a lot of travel with her work. So I can understand why they made their decisions. I do think that there are others that should have been under consideration. The irony is I got a lot of messages from people saying, Ivy, why didn't you get one? Ivy, why didn't you get one? You've been doing so much work. You did the Year of Return and Beyond the Return digital campaigns. You should also get one so that you can move around and spread the word of Africa, with ease. I've had people sending me messages saying the same thing as what I see Pro Woman has said on the screen here. I see in the comments saying, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I was, that's why I wanted to put that up there. Obviously, Ivy, you've been doing a lot of work for a long time, and I think, I don't know how much people know how involved you were in the Year Return Beyond the Return activities, and how the content that you shot is the content we all saw, right? All the videos, you were there where everybody came, every celebrity that came to Ghana. And that all is really important. And so, yes, I agree. I think you should be, whatever the next batch looks like, whatever that is, I would think that Ivy should be included in that. And then to your point about the video that we watched earlier, right? I think what he was doing was speaking to the sentiment of many here. People seem to take issue with other people getting something that they seem was received easily, and was just given to someone because they do some YouTube videos. And the point that you made around what it takes to create a YouTube following. Now, to be clear, there are some people who grow really big YouTube followings really fast, doing things that are either incendiary or risque or gossip. When you do content around the continent of Africa, traveling around the continent, interviewing people about their experiences, starting businesses and farms and those kinds of things, it is really, really hard to grow a following. The level of consistency, persistence you have to have. You guys know about the struggles I've had building my YouTube channel. Ivy, you and I have had these conversations many times about how difficult it is to keep your integrity, to build the right way, not do anything like buying followers and all those things, like to, so for Ivy, for Wode to get to 1 million plus, and he's approaching 2 million at this point, is really, really difficult work. I mean, I remember you told me he was doing 4 live streams a day at one point.
It was 3. It was 3.
3 live streams
a day. 3 videos a day. Yeah.
3 a day. I mean, like who out there that you guys know who create content that's doing that? I do 4 clips a day. I do 3 live streams a week or 2 live streams a week. I do 2 videos a week. And even that for me is $1,000 per month effort in terms of what I'm spending to do that. And so I think you guys just have to understand how difficult that is and what you have to do and how passionate you have to be sharing that with the world. And it makes sense for him in particular, because he doesn't have a passport from a Western country that would allow him to be able to move around easily. As you mentioned, he talks about how he's had trouble getting around different countries in Africa, visa issues.
All the time.
It comes up all the time. And so, and I've mentioned this before, even for myself, I'm a dual passport holder, right? And I remember when I was living here in Ghana and I was planning a trip to go to Egypt for my job at the time, I was going to use my Sierra Leone passport because I figured my Sierra Leone passport would be easier to move around with.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is, my U.S. passport actually made it easier for me to go to Egypt than my Sierra Leone passport. In fact, I could do visa on arrival in Egypt with my U.S. passport, but could not do visa on arrival with my Sierra Leone passport.
You see that?
My coworker was from Nigeria. He was denied a visa. He had to fly to Abuja just for the guy who was supposed to meet with not to show up for the meeting at the Egyptian embassy. Flew back to Lagos, flew back again to be denied, right? So he was not able to go to Egypt for the sales conference that was sponsored by the organization we were all working for. A couple of people were denied visas. And these are people with no criminal records, right? It just happened to be they came from countries that Egypt makes it difficult for them to travel to Egypt with. So with that, I think it really is important for somebody like Wode to be able to have it. And as you mentioned, all of the other folks are great representatives for Ghana and are important in spreading the word of tourism. And that's one of the biggest things that Ghana has been focused on over the last few years. So if that is a focus for the country, then that would make sense for them to do, right? I mean, it just makes sense. So in my opinion, I think it was a smart move. And I remember hearing that other people under the previous administration got diplomatic passports as well, right? So I think when you're just a positive representation of the country that you're from, you know, giving you that additional status is helpful. One, because it's a PR move, right? Like this is worldwide news, right? One, two, it gives them the ability to be able to spread the good word about the country, right? So I think it was all strategically, for all reasons, I think it was a good idea. So yeah, definitely. Pro Woman says, hope Salon government grants Joe that kind of passport one day, learn from Ghana. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, you should. You do so
I represent
much for
Sierra
that.
Leone every day.
Look at that.
But you know, there are a few people too, though, I would say would be deserving. I would, but yeah, I mean, of course, I'd love that. Yes, but we'll see. We will see. Do they even know that I exist? That's a question we do not know. All right, so the question, this is a good question from Pro Women. I don't know the answer to this. I don't know, Ivy, if you would know. But Pro Woman is asking, does the passport come with other diplomatic privileges, including immunity? Like
now that I don't know the answer to. I don't know if it has that.
Generally, a diplomatic passport does give you diplomatic immunity. You can get diplomatic plates put on your vehicle, etc. There are a number of different benefits that come along with it. I had family members who had diplomatic immunity, and yeah, it's a whole different way to live. Lenora says hello. What's up, Lenora? And Evelyn says bonjour from Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire.
Bonsoir.
There you go. That's the way you respond to that. I don't know French at all. Okay, cool. So yeah, I mean, look, I think to wrap it up, tie it up in a bow, great idea, smart move. From everything you've mentioned, they're all deserving. I was only familiar really with Dentaa and with Wode Maya, and both of which have been pivotal. You know, I've seen Dentaa speak on many a international panel about Ghana and investing in Ghana and moving to Ghana and visiting Ghana. And obviously Wode Maya has been, you know, a great example of someone from the country. So staying on track, today happens to be Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day.
Yes.
And so, you know, this is a day to celebrate the first president, and I guess first prime minister too, technically, because I think he was prime minister first, then president of the country of Ghana. You know, after moving to Ghana, I had the privilege of going to the Kwame Nkrumah Museum long before they did the adjustments and updates to it. And to hear his story, I was not aware. I was embarrassed to be unaware of who Kwame Nkrumah was and his impact. And so when I moved to Ghana and getting that introduction, I decided to do more research. And you know, obviously, you know, he's been someone that, you know, if we do a Mount Rushmore of presidents from the continent of Ghana and all of the continent of Africa and all of African history, Kwame Nkrumah will be one of them. All right, so we're going to play this video and we'll have some commentary on the other side.
Okay.
Born on September 21, 1909 at Nkrumah in the Western region, Nkrumah rose from humble beginnings to become the face of Ghana's struggle for freedom and the symbol of African liberation. His rallying cry of forward ever, backwards never continues to echo across generations.
Colonialism and imperialism may come to us yet in a different guise, not necessarily from Europe. We must alert ourselves to be able to recognize this.
Dr. Nkrumah's bold leadership gave birth to Africa's first independent nation south of the Sahara, and his dream for a united continent inspired movements for freedom across Africa and beyond. Across the country today, Ghanaians are reflecting on his enduring legacy, from his investments in education, infrastructure, and industrialization to his unyielding belief in the power of the African identity.
Ghana is a small but very dynamic independent African state. We are trying to reconstruct our economy and to build a new, free, and equal society. To do this, we must attain control of our own economic and political destinies.
As the nation marks Nkrumah's Memorial Day, his words remain ever relevant.
Okay, we'll leave it at that and come back to you, Ivy. So, as a Ghanaian, what does Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day mean to you? Oh, wait, I think you're on mute.
It is a very important day because, as you said, he was the first prime minister as well as the first president of Ghana. And he has a lasting legacy, despite the fact that he was overthrown in, I believe it was 1966 in the coup. And, you know, later on it was discovered that that coup was actually influenced by the CIA, by the United States. And, but when you look at his legacy and you look at all of the things that he did during his time as a president of this country, a lot of the things he laid in place are still being used today, are still the backbone of a lot of parts of Ghana's operations, like the dam for the electricity, the motorway. And it's like, there are so many things that he did. And he had a vision of uniting Africa, and it's a vision that is carried on. And I feel like now in this generation, people are really coming to see how important that is for us to come together as Africans across the continent, as well as the diaspora. He's the original person being all about connecting the diaspora. He lived in the US, went to university there, and when he came back to Ghana, he was very committed to trying to get people in the diaspora to come to Africa. That's why he invited people like W.E.B. Du Bois. He invited Martin Luther King to come to Ghana at his inauguration. So it's like he invited people to come to Ghana and experience it as a Black person who has been displaced. He was very much for the Pan-Africanist movement. And so he's like the original symbol. And so his legacy is definitely something that should be honored and should be celebrated. You know, yesterday was his official birthday, the 21st. And because that date fell on a Sunday, today is the day that the holiday is celebrating his legacy.
There it is. Well put. And I'll just add, you know, as you mentioned, he invited all those people. He is the kind of the face of the Pan-African movement. You know, when you think about who is a good example for Pan-Africanism, right? Someone who was an elected leader, who spoke out against imperialism, who also wasn't afraid to show the power of Ghana, right? And the example of that is depicted in, I think it was season 2 of The Crown, where there was that famous moment where, you know, you're not supposed to touch the queen, but he decided to dance with her, right? And she danced with him. And he was also recognized by the USSR at the time, or the Soviet Union, I guess it was called at the time, with what was equivalent to the Nobel Peace Prize, right? Their version of the Nobel Peace Prize. And I think from that moment on, things soured between the West and him from that moment in all of his discussions. He wrote a couple of books, and he was just very instrumental in leading what is now known as a Pan-Africanist movement. Even the Ghanaian flag is based on Pan-African colors, right? He really did focus very heavily on that. And as you mentioned, Martin Luther King was at his inauguration, and so many people came to Ghana. I mean, Muhammad Ali, so many people came to Ghana during those years that he was in power. And he was overthrown, sponsored and influenced by the American CIA, which was revealed later, as you mentioned. And this was one of many that the West have meddled in. But this is one that I think really stifled the growth of the Pan-African movement. And it's tough to know that we don't know where this could have gone had he continued to remain in power and was able to continue to push forward with his legacy while alive. But yeah, as you mentioned, there's so many things that he did. I mean, he promoted economic independence. He, established numerous state-owned enterprises. There was a shipping fleet. There was the airline, factories for commodities like glass, textiles, and shoes, education and healthcare. He expanded access to education by building schools, including the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science, and a bunch of other schools. Major infrastructure projects, you mentioned the dam, the Volta River Project, hydroelectric power for industrialization and electrification, the Tema Harbor, the Tema Motorway, as you mentioned. He also even the wildlife reserve, right? Knowing that industrialization will be a problem at some point in the future, he made it so that the Shai Hills Wildlife Reserve would be maintained as is in perpetuity, right? Making it a state park. So all of these things that he brought as part of Ghana's new way forward, and also changing the name of the country, right? Many countries after independence just kept their name, right? Europeans come, draw these fake borders, and name your space. And he decided to name it after a previous African empire, the Ghana Empire. He decided to name the country Ghana. So it was previously called the Gold Coast by the Europeans, and he decided to change the name as well. So all of those things were things that he did. I mean, as you said, the legacy still lives on, and you see that too with how people go and come back. Like people go to college and come back to Ghana. People go away to work for some time and come back to Ghana. You see this cyclical nature of people leaving and coming back. You don't have the same level of brain drain as many other countries have. And I think a large part of that has to do with having that open line of communication and that way of bringing people back. And then, obviously it culminated with the year of return and the beyond the return activities, and all of people coming back and forth even long before then. So a president like him starting your country, I think really sets it on the right trajectory. There aren't very many first presidents that most other countries on the continent know, right? Just really think about that.
That's very true. That's very
true. I know
true.
Sierra Leone's first president. Many of us don't know Nigeria's first president. Many of us don't know Egypt's first president. Many don't know South Africa's first president, right? And so I think that's really been a hallmark and a statement for the impact that he made, not only in Ghana, but around the continent.
Right. And I want to make a note because I noticed in the comments there was Colin T said, are you talking about Founders Day? And so there's some confusion that happens sometimes in Ghana because originally this was Founders Day, but since 2017, the country had made legislation to make some changes. So Founders Day is now August the 4th. And Founders Day is a national holiday that observes all the founding fathers of Ghana, which includes Kwame Nkrumah and some other men who also were part of, they call them the Big Six, the founding fathers of Ghana. And so August the 4th is the date that Founders Day is now celebrated since 2017. September 21st is now designated as Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Day. That's been the case since 2017. I did notice on social media there were some people saying Happy Founders Day because of the forgetting. Okay, so he's showing you the picture on the money. All of those men are the men that are called the Big Six as part of the founding fathers of Ghana.
Yeah.
I've also read stories about women who were behind that didn't get all the recognition and acknowledgement they deserve. So it is a collective effort of getting this country into independence.
Absolutely. Thank you for that clarification, because I think that's important. Cell says they love your hair, by the way.
Thank you.
Let's see here. Everybody's just saying hello. Salute to Kwame Nkrumah. Fred is saying my personal favorite is Dark Days in Conakry, was written by his biographer. And I will say, when Guinea got its independence, they actually decided to do co-presidents. And so once, he was exiled from the country, Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown and he was exiled from the country, was not able to come back to the country until after his passing. Then they brought his body back. He became co-president of Guinea. That's how impactful he was, that when they got their independence, they decided to have him be a co-president. That's how serious of a person he was, which you don't see anywhere ever. African presidents don't tend to be that willing to share power like that. But they decided to make him a co-president of Guinea, which is a really important, piece of his legacy that I don't know if too many people are aware of.
So I see in the comments, Pro Woman says that there is presently an Nkrumah political party in Ghana. So the political party that was Nkrumah's party that is still in existence is the CPP. They don't get much support because, as we know, in Ghana, it seems to be like it's only two parties that get the biggest support, the NPP and the NDC. But Ghana has several political parties, and the Convention People's Party is one of them. That was Kwame Nkrumah's political party.
His daughter's a politician, if I'm not mistaken, right? I saw her in the news recently, or doing some interviews recently as well.
Yes, she does politics. Yes.
Okay, I did see that. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, I mean, I think, many of those who are watching, of course, are aware of Kwame Nkrumah and his role. But for those who aren't, we thought it was important to call it out because obviously it's a holiday today, and we wanted to call it out and, speak to some of the things that he did, because many people don't know what he was involved in. And as you mentioned, yeah, he was a professor internationally. He gifted a home to W.E.B. Du Bois. He really did start that path of this open pathway between West Africa and the West, specifically Africans living in the West. All right, cool. So moving on to, a not so happy story. 800,000 households are currently facing a water crisis based on some pollutants from illegal mining. So we're gonna play a portion of this video, and we'll give some commentary on the other side. And then there's gonna be a little bit of an update from some of the people that Ivy shared with me earlier that we will play as well. But let's start with this news story just to kind of give you guys some context as to what's going on.
And to the central region, water crisis has affected over 800,000 households in 8 districts in the central region after Galamsey activities destroyed River Ayensu, which serves the Agona Kwanyako Water Works of the Ghana Water Company Limited. Sources indicate that Galamseyers operating in Enum Papam of the eastern region have been polluting the river for the past 8 months, resulting in the dire water shortage.
The residents affected by the water crisis include Ewutu Senior West, Ebutusinya East Municipality, Agona East, Agona Central, Agona West, Gomwa West, and Efuti. Residents in these areas are struggling to access clean water, with many reporting severe distractions to their daily lives. Residents of Agona Asafo and Agona Kwesitri Krum, who depend on the River Ayesu, have called on President John.
I know it's really hard to hear, but I just wanted you guys to see what the water looks like, right? I mean, this is, you know, I would have just stopped it at the news reporter from Joy News, or I guess from this particular news station. But I wanted you guys to see how dirty the water is, right? Just so you can see how dirty and polluted the water is. So Ivy, your thoughts on what's happening here and the story that 800,000 people are affected by this water crisis?
Yeah, this is a really serious issue. For those who are watching and are not aware, in Ghana, illegal mining, they call it Galamsey. That is the term people use to describe illegal mining in Ghana. So if you ever see news stories, you'll see the term Galamsey in there. And it's become a very serious issue in Ghana. It's a mixture of economic, regulatory, social, environmental issues all coming together. And then unemployment, I think unemployment, especially amongst young people, is one of the key drivers of illegal gold mining happening in the country, as well as some companies that may not be following the proper regulations of what they're supposed to be doing. So mining, there's a proper way of doing mining of gold and a proper way of discarding the waste that comes from the mining process. There is a way to do it safely, so it doesn't harm the local community. But unfortunately, what's happening is when people are digging and doing the things they do, they're dumping the toxic waste into the bodies of water in the area, and then it results in people being affected because their water is affected. Now, I've seen it in the eastern region of Ghana as well, and now it's down to the central region, which is really bad. And I've heard about it happening also in the western region of Ghana. Now, when I mention unemployment, the reason why I mention unemployment as a driver is there's young people who are getting involved in these illegal mining activities in a high number. These, companies are recruiting them, and they're happy to do what they're doing because they don't have a job and it's a way for them to make quick money. So they're not thinking of the long-term effects. They're just thinking about quick money to do the things that they need to do day to day, to eat, to pay rent, whatever it may be. They're just thinking about fast money from doing the illegal mining practices. And so, if there could be some kind of resolution into how to improve the employment situations, maybe not as many young people would be involved. And then there also needs to be enforcement, regulatory enforcement on some of the companies that are taking advantage and doing things that they shouldn't be doing.
Well put. Yeah, I mean, look, I think that, from what I understand, there was some talks early in Mahama's presidency that he was cracking down on illegal mining. I think I remember hearing that just a few months ago. But on that note, I do want to play another video of some local reactions to what's happening, and we'll give some commentary on the other side.
But you see, Mr. President, I don't blame you if you cannot do anything. Because now your brother, Mr. Mahama, Ibrahim Mahama, is controlling today, he's controlling Ghana's biggest gold mine. So what can you do about Galamsey? If your brother himself
controlling the biggest Galamsey site,
no, I'm coming to this. You see, if the president's direct brother
are we against mining or illegal mining?
So the thing is this: who's going to draw that line?
Very specific.
Yes, but who's going to draw the line and say this is legal or illegal mining?
So there's a point, right? You mentioned Galamsey is the illegal mining that doesn't necessarily have all of the steps that you have to do to ensure that you're not having waste go into the water. This particular guy that was speaking was saying that his brother is the, I guess, leader of or manager of one of the major mines. Now, I don't know if the correlation is if there's a causation correlation between the two, right? So what are your thoughts on that video? Because I don't know enough to know if in the legal mining sector, if they have some of the same issues that the illegal mining sector is having.
I think that this guy, because Ibrahim Mahama is the brother of the president, and he's involved in one of the largest mining companies in Ghana, I think that he probably feels that the president could have some influence through his brother, possibly speaking out against some of the illegal practices that are happening, perhaps investigating if his company has any ties to some of the illegal things that may be happening. So he's probably expressing that for that reason. That's my guess based on what he's saying. Because it's hard if you own a company and you're one of the biggest in the country, you would really have to do your checks and balances to make sure that none of the people working for you are involved or engaged in any illegal activities. So maybe this guy is pleading for him to look into that, or simply for him to speak on it because of the fact that, you know, he is the president, and then also for his brother involved in the gold industry to also speak on it, being an authority in the business. Because if you're an authority in the business, and I think he has the largest Ghanaian owned gold company. And I know there's been a lot of accusations of Chinese owned and other foreign owned companies being engaged in Galamsey. That is my guess based on what this man is saying in the video. So I noticed the journalist was really trying to press him to kind of get to the point and say what it is that he's saying. Because sometimes people say things out of emotion and they're not really clear on what they're saying as well.
Yeah, well put. And I mean, and that was the thing that I was trying to get from, like, when I watched that earlier, I like that the journalist asked that specific question, because he's saying, are we against gold mining or illegal gold mining, right? He said, he asked him specifically to say that, because the guy was saying, you know, all the things that you mentioned, you know, he may have been conflating the two, right? I don't know if that particular gold mining has subsidiaries, or that particular gold mine company has subsidiaries and or other mines within the country that could be operating illegally, or specifically the fact that they're just illegal mines that are happening based on what you had mentioned, a lot of foreign nationals in country illegally mining. It does seem like that he was conflating the two. And I do think it's important for people to understand the distinction, right? There seems to be regulations and rules and enforcement on legal mining. And so that would make sure that these things don't happen. But there has been so much historically illegal mining that where all these challenges are coming from. And we probably should not conflate the two. I don't know if the two should be conflated, because I don't know enough, but it doesn't seem to me as if he did himself. He didn't speak to any specific accusations or any issues that he saw from that particular mine. He, like you said, he might have just been speaking out of emotion. But, you know, when you hear something like this reminds you of how many people think about things, right? Yeah. There are a lot of conflation between these different things. People just have an emotional response to 800,000 people being affected by this water crisis. So, you know, it's understandable that there's this visceral reaction, but we just want to make sure we know who we're pointing to when we're pointing fingers at who could potentially be at fault for this.
Yeah, it's serious. It's very serious, and this you know, illegal mining, this isn't new. This has been happening for quite some time. I don't know exactly when it started, but what I do know is I remember in 2011, when I had gone to my mom's hometown in the eastern region, I had my camera because I heard that there was rumblings about people doing illegal mining. So I had my little camcorder, and I was like, I'm going to go and be a journalist and go and get the story. So like I walked around and I saw where there were people doing what they were doing. And I went to put my camera up, and some security man came, get out of here, get out of here. And he was like coming with like full, like aggressive force, and I had to like quickly stop and like leave. People told me that I could get hurt if I continued. So I left. And, you know, I heard stories about people telling me that in the community that there's people who are, you know, coercing and cooperative and helping it to continue, you know, by silencing people, you know, through bribes or what it may be, whatnot. So then people just end up keeping quiet because they take the money. And it's an unfortunate situation because now that community's water is completely destroyed. It's really sad, actually. Really, really sad.
Yeah, it's terrible. Well, I mean, as I said, I mean, I read the news about a month or two ago that there was a big crackdown on illegal mining. So we'll hope that that continues to be enforced and it continues to get cracked. The crackdowns continue so that it doesn't further impact more people. Ghana is a country of about 30 million people. So, 800,000 people is still a significant number of the population. This is a big number in general, right? We're talking about approaching
it's almost a million people.
Yeah, almost a million people. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely think that this is a huge problem, and I do hope that it does get solved. Those were all the headlines. There was one more. There was one more story actually that we were going to go through. Did you have anything else that you wanted to speak to on in regards to this particular story though, before we move on?
No, it's just we have to keep hoping that things will change because what's happened with the water being contaminated is also in the communities where the water is contaminated. They're talking about how it's also affecting what they eat because that's the same water they're using to grow the fruits and vegetables. And if what you're eating is contaminated because of the water, then people could potentially get sick as well. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And then to our last story, this one's in the entertainment space. DJ Nori accuses Ghanaian artist of not sounding Ghanaian in a recent interview. I wasn't able to find this interview, but Ivy, can you speak to...
Oh, you weren't able to find it?
No, I wasn't, to be honest.
Oh, you should have told me.
I forgot. I just noticed it. Sorry, guys. By the way, I want you guys to know what it's like to be filming all day, every day, and still trying to come to you guys live with these stories. It is not easy. We got through by the skin of our teeth today to go live. But if you have a video, if you can find one, I can put it up quickly. But yeah, so I was, while we're working to find this story, here's what I can do. I can give you guys a little bit of insight into what was going on today. So today I filmed 3 Airbnbs and an interview. Yesterday, I did 2 interviews. The day before, I spent all day in Ada filming an interview and a tour. The day before that, I filmed an interview in an Airbnb. The day before that, I did a couple more, and last Tuesday I did 3. So I shot about 17 pieces of content while I'm here in Ghana so far, and I have another 2 or 3 left to go. So that is why, I mean, I always say there are no excuses, but at least there's a reason as to why this story wasn't pulled up and readily available. Were you able to find
I sent you the
something?
link in our chat because I can't share it. I don't think, can I? Oh, yes, I can. I can share screen. I think I can. Let me try to share it. I sent you the link, but let me try to share it.
Okay, I got the link here. So just in case you have any issues, I can do it.
Okay, I'll let you do it. Should I do it? Let me do it.
Oh, you know what? I did see this link. Okay, I could do it.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I could do it. Since I already have it queued up, let me just do this.
You know you speak English very well.
Oh, thanks. What are you trying to say?
I don't hear no Ghanaian in you. And I have
Are you trying to say Ghanaians don't speak good English?
I got best friends at Ghanaians. You know what I'm saying? You have no Ghanaian accent. Why?
It's fake. You should meet me in Ghana. Me being Ghana, you hear the real Molly actually. So I'll see you there.
I do not like your English is just like so like clear. You speak more proper than me. I don't know.
English was my actually my favorite subject.
Let me
in
Google
school.
you. Let me Google you real quick. I'm not getting Nigerian. It might say something like you're from Texas or something. Let me see exactly where you're from. Because I don't trust you. Yeah, you definitely sound clear. Ain't nothing about you sounds anything from any third world country or anything. So just stick a pin in that one.
I don't like how this is sounding, Nori.
Right.
I just don't like.
Now you sound proper. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying you sound very proper.
I get that it's a compliment, but it feels backhanded.
I'm listening to you. What are you saying? Why does it feel backhanded?
Because it's like it's almost like you're saying I don't expect you to sound like this because you're from Ghana, you know.
And like I said to you a while ago, my love, all of my Ghanaian friends have a little bit. We can hear it. Forget it. I say Nigerian and my Ghanaian friends.
This is my radio voice. Flows and vibes.
You know you speak English.
Okay, so DJ Nori, I actually did see this video, but I didn't realize that was a video because it was entitled that way. So what are your thoughts on this?
So he comes out and says she doesn't sound Ghanaian, and the way he says you speak proper, your English is clear. It's like, so are you saying that Ghanaians don't speak proper English? Are you saying that Ghanaians cannot sound like that? And the way a person speaks has a lot to do with where they went to school or where they have lived in their life. And it doesn't have anything to do with whether you're from a place or not. So for example, I was born in Ghana, raised by Ghanaian parents in Canada, and I live back in Ghana now. I didn't do a single day of school in Ghana. All of my schooling was done in Canada. And I did a couple of years in the US. But I'm a Ghanaian. My parents are from Ghana. I was born in Ghana. I live in Ghana. I claim that as my identity. That's where I'm from. So because I speak like I lived in Canada, of course my accent is going to come across like somebody who lived in Canada because I lived there for a lot of years. Right. And in Ghana, I've also noticed there are people in Ghana that when they speak English, some of them speak English like they've traveled somewhere, like people who go to Ghana International School, they go to Tema International School, they're going to Lincoln Community School. The people go into these private schools where they're paying high tuitions and they bring in foreign teachers. Of course, the students' voices are going to end up mimicking the foreign teacher because you're in school more than you are at home when you're growing up. You're in school like what? 6 to 8 hours a day. And then if you do after school activities like sports or anything, you are around these teachers who are speaking a certain way. You might get influenced by it. And then you also have the dynamic of someone who may have traveled a lot. If you travel a lot, then you end up picking up things from different places, And the way he said it was very backhanded. Very backhanded. Because for him to say, I never heard anybody from a third world country sound like that. Like, really? Well, what's up with that? The whole third world nonsense. Like, seriously? And this is like, I experienced this kind of nonsense in the US when I used to travel a lot to the US when I lived in Canada. And then also when I went to school there to study radio and television broadcasting, Black people are always the ones. Black people would be like, you don't sound like you're Black. You don't sound like a Black person. You don't sound like a Black person. And I'm like, so what is a Black person supposed to sound like? Are we all supposed to talk the same? The way we speak is indicative of where you've lived, where you've been educated, where you are, communicating with people. Doesn't mean I'm not Black. If I'm standing there quiet and you're standing there quiet and we're standing there, any of those police who have issues with our people aren't going to say, what do you sound like? Do you sound like a Black person? It's like, it's foolishness. Yeah. And she tried her best to be so cordial in that interview. She was so cordial.
Yeah, I will have to say she has really good media training because most people would not respond that way. And it always looks bad for the artists to respond the way they naturally want to respond. So I think she did a really good job of and responding the right way. So what that reminded me of is when Trump said to the president of Liberia that you speak good English, where were you educated? Right? It kind of reminds me of that same conversation. And he can say, I have Ghanaian friends, but there are no group is a monolith, right? Just because you are Ghanaian does not mean that you're going to have a specific accent. And what I think some people should understand and should know is that there are certain people, and some people do this, when they're learning another language, they attempt to sound like the people who speak that language, right? So when I am speaking Creole from Sierra Leone, I try my best to emphasize syllables the way Sierra Leoneans do who grew up and were born in Sierra Leone, because you want to assimilate to the culture that you are in, where you currently are. Right? Ideally, it makes it easier for those people to understand you when you're speaking. It ingratiates you more with that culture. And so there's actually nothing wrong with doing that. But you should not be seen as not being authentic if you do that, not authentic to your own place if you do that, right?
Yeah.
It's normal to do that. When I speak Spanish, I roll the R's, just like a person speaking Spanish normally does. It's what you do. You don't want to sound like a gringo, right? So what is wrong with her speaking English the way an American might, right? And also, why does that make it better than, or, it's not better or worse. It just is. That's how she chose to speak English. She decided to try to assimilate by speaking English the way Americans do, which I see nothing wrong with. So I thought that was really interesting, and the way he said it. I mean, he said it with a smile on his face, and he was joking eventually. But I did hear that as, like she said, it seemed like a backhanded compliment, and she didn't know how to take it. And I'm glad she addressed it the way she did. She did do well. But yeah, I think that should be an important way for us to all remember that nobody is a monolith. Everybody's going to come in different shades and colors and ways of speaking. To your earlier point about being told you don't sound black. That was something that people told me growing up. I went to boarding school for underprivileged kids from the projects, kids from trailer parks, kids who have been through traumatic experiences in their lives. And so people always said to me, I don't belong. I don't sound like I'm from the Bronx, so I don't sound like I'm from New York. And then even now, I remember there was a time where I was out with a couple of friends I went to high school with, and somebody said to me, "You look like their lawyer. You seem like their lawyer," and they're like a rap group. And we all thought it was funny. They thought it was funny, but when you really think about that, what is that saying? You have to remember that we as a black people, which is what the Europeans decided to call us when they came to the continent, we are not a monolith in any way, from any one country, not from any one culture, not from any one tribe, and not from any one continent, right? We all are different. And so there are going to be different ways that we express ourselves and we communicate. And I think the more that people understand that, the further we will go as a people. So those are my thoughts on that. I had never heard that till just now, by the way. So I hadn't heard that.
So there's one more story I remembered.
Okay.
I put it in our chat, that an announcement was made that Ghana was going to be offering visa on arrival in December, but they stipulated it that it was for people going to the Diaspora Summit. But I'm sure that a lot of people will come and say they're going to the Diaspora Summit just to be able to come and get the visa on arrival. And then I think a few days ago, they said they're considering extending it for anybody coming in December. But for now, it's for those coming for the Diaspora Summit happening. I believe it's December 19th and 20th that the Diaspora Affairs Office is doing the Diaspora Summit.
Yes, it is the 19th and the 20th. The visa-free entry applies to all Africans and people of African descent traveling to Ghana specifically for the Diaspora Summit. The purpose is to make it easier for people of African descent to attend the summit and to demonstrate that Ghana considers the diaspora family, not foreigners. difference from the December NGH policy. This special visa waiver for the summit is distinct from the annual December NGH program, which offers visa on arrival options for visitors during the holiday season. The summit's policy is visa-free, meaning no visa application or fee is required for eligible attendees. Yeah, I think it's really important though too, because what we find is that, and I was having a conversation with a Ghanaian today who went to college, and I think he maybe went to some high school in the United States and moved back to Ghana, and is an entrepreneur here in Ghana. And he had mentioned how often people move here and make mistakes culturally. They don't try to assimilate, right? And obviously gentrification is going to happen. That's just a part of large swaths of people moving to a new place. But I think one of the things that we need to think about as people who are moving back to Ghana is how do we ensure that we are assimilating and we are joining communities and we're not in silos when we come to this country. And from what I understand, I think that's the goal of trying to have these kinds of summits, is to help people transition better, plan to come here, just be better when we come here. Because, from the things that I see online, the things that I hear from people who live here, there are real concerns. There are real concerns. And I try to address them as much as I can here on this platform. But there are just things that you guys need to consider when coming to Ghana. Just please respect the country. All right. We may not respect the country we are originally from, but respect the country you're visiting. Operate in Ghana the way you would operate in France or England. And I hope that that's, if it's with high standards. I just think back to the wheelies in the streets on the four-wheelers with Meek Mill and rapping in the president's what was it in the what building was that in?
Jubilee House.
Yes, in the Jubilee House. He shot the music video with all kinds of profanity in it. I'm like, my guy, at the very least, do the edited version. If you're gonna be at the Jubilee House, pick a different song at the very least, But I think about those things and I say to myself, would you do that in France? Would you do that in England? You know what I'm saying? Why do you feel that it's okay to do that here in Ghana? And maybe that's on Ghana and on us to ensure that people do better and we do differently. So that's my public service announcement. TED Talk done. I don't know if you have any other thoughts on that.
Nope, no thoughts.
I saw that. I was like, oh, come on, Meek. Come on. Anyway, any other stories? That was a good one, though. The visa on arrival. I didn't even know about that. That's a good story, though.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I will say that this has been a very engaged audience today. There are a bunch of comments we weren't able to get to. But I want to say thank you to everybody who engaged, who responded, who communicated. We're always appreciative of you guys for joining and for engaging in the conversation, for sure. We're not always going to be able to get to every comment or question, but we are going to try our best to do so.
Yes.
So yeah,
and even when it's not on live, if you're watching this as a replay,
Yes.
drop your comments in the comment section. On my video, you can go into the description and tap to support the channel through PayPal or through Zelle. You can support the channel or buying my book, Your Essential Guide on Moving to Ghana, or booking a consultation. That's also in the description box of my video when you're watching on the replay.
There it is. And I may have a link in mind too. But in any case, yes, definitely support the channel however way you can. And also, it's free to hit the like button. It's free to share this with anybody who is interested in what's happening in Ghana at this present moment. And make sure you, of course, subscribe to both of our channels. If you subscribe to Ivy Prosper everywhere on all platforms, subscribe to Authentic African on all platforms, and we will see you guys all on the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.
Thanks for watching.